In this video, we're going to be looking at step 1 of how to bill partners for their share of joint venture expenditure. So the first step is to run the gross trial balance. All right, so as we get to the month end, we have been posting transactions throughout the period, which may be part of a joint venture set of expenditures, and for which we need to do a cutback to bill partners for their share of that expenditure. The first thing we need to be able to do is to know what is the total of that expenditure that is going to be cut back. So sometimes what we find is customers may not have a quick way to do this, so they might go in, generate a general ledger report, and do extensive analysis to figure out what is the total gross expenditure for joint ventures that they're going to cut back and bill to the partners. However, instead of doing that, there is a streamlined way to do it, and it is done via the use of reporting structures. There are two more common scenarios. One is the gross is identified, the gross trial balance is identified through the bill code element, which is the best practice and the easiest way to identify the gross trial balance. And then there's a second way, which is through gross accounts. So we have gross bill codes or gross accounts. Gross accounts is not as good because usually the chart of accounts is way bigger than the list of bill codes. So you have to do more setup and more control when you have a gross chart of accounts. Regardless, the way to generate a gross trial balance quickly is to leverage reporting structures. So in this example database, I'm going to go to this structure analysis report, and since this system is set to identify gross and net through the bill code, I'm going to go to the bill code element, and then I'm going to select the structure where I can identify gross and net bill codes, in this case the main structure. So if you see here in this structure, I can see that this parent element or this summary element gross groups all the gross bill codes, and this summary, this summary called net, groups all the net bill codes. So if I wanted to run a gross trial balance, all I have to do in this scenario is go in and in definitions just select here gross bill codes. And if I run that for the period and I go to the last page, I'll see that the total gross that I need to cut back and bill to the partners of the joint venture is this amount. If I do not use that, say that summary element gross, and I just run this for all my bill codes, I would have to then filter this in Excel to figure out exactly what is the amount that is to be billed to the partners for the activity of the month. So this might take longer because I would have to get this FQA, then break it up into columns. And then just look at the bill code. And since I know my gross bill codes are these, I would select the gross bill codes in that manner. As you can see, I'll get to the same outcome, this total, but it took way longer, right? I had to export to Excel, do some data analysis. If I leverage my structure, it's considerably faster. So I simply do that. Maybe I'll summarize this so that it's a shorter report. And now I know that this is the total that I should cut back. So I have now my starting point, which is my gross trial balance, that gives me the total that's going to be billed to the partners. So to conclude, the best practice here is to have a structure in the bill code or in the account element that allows me to quickly identify the gross balance that is to be cut back to the partners.